Starts and sits, fresh cans of snake oil, and the Keenan Allen hill I'm willing to die on. This is week 7 of Keepers. Welcome to Keepers. I'm Matt Ufford, here to talk to you about data collation of football contests via an interconnected worldwide network beamed to your handheld pocket supercomputer. Man, civilization is going great and we're using technology responsibly. Let's kick things off with starts and sits for week 7. Start Justin Forsett. He's quietly become a solid fantasy play with 3 consecutive games of 11+ fantasy points, and in week 7 the Ravens host the Falcons, who have given up 7 rushing touchdowns in their 3 road games, which is as many as any other team has given up total. Sit Marcus Colston. Something's not right with the Saints passing game, and it's not going to get any better with Jimmy Graham injured on the bench. Sure, it might mean more targets for Colston, but it will also mean more defensive attention from a Lions pass D that's allowing less than 1 touchdown pass per game. Start the Browns defense. A week after holding the Steelers to 10 points, the Browns get the Jaguars, who are allowing 4.5 sacks per game, easily the worst in the league. Listen, don't be ashamed of taking advantage of the Jags. They signed Toby Gerhart. They deserve this. Sit the 49ers defense. As if Peyton Manning going for Brett Favre's touchdown record wasn't enough of a worry, San Francisco's playing on a short week between 2 road games, and they're missing several key defensive players. Bad news for the Niners D, great news for fans of Jim Harbaugh's sideline meltdowns. Start Jonathan Stewart. He's expected back from his 3-game hiatus to face a leaky Packers run D. And considering Mike Shula spent the last couple weeks starting helpless cannon fodder like Darren Reeves, Fozzie Whitaker, and Chris Ogbonnaya, you better believe Stewart will get touches and make the most of them. Oh, P.S. Stewart's owned in less than 20% of leagues, so if you need to fill a hole for a week or 2, he's a great option. Sit Steven Jackson. Not only is he getting outscored in fantasy by Antone Smith's 1 touch per week, but the Falcons will have a tough day on the ground against a Ravens defense that's 3rd stingiest in the league against fantasy running backs. Start Roddy White. The Ravens may have a reputation as a defensive team, but they've given up more fantasy points to wide receivers than all but 4 teams in the league. With the Falcons defense sure to allow plenty of points, expect Atlanta to air it out enough for both White and Julio Jones to have solid days. And sit Zach Stacy. Stacy's last 3 games have yielded just 126 rushing yards without a score. He'll be facing a pissed-off Seahawks squad that was number 1 against the run until they faced DeMarco Murray. They'll be looking to make a statement. Last week I was even more correct than usual, I know. The only dud I recommended was Heath Miller, which is why you should never trust Steelers who aren't Antonio Brown. But everything else was pretty much on point, and once again a running back I said to sit got injured. Stephen Ridley, I'm sorry. You may think it was the turf or a defender that tore your knee ligament, but no. It was me telling fantasy owners to sit you. I have a terrible power, and I cannot control it. Buy low on Matt Ryan. Ryan hasn't looked impressive since the Thursday night demolition of the Bucs in week 3, but he's got Julio Jones and Roddy White to help him put up hollow, meaningless stats as the Falcons air it out to compensate for that embarrassing defense. And you know what? Those hollow, meaningless stats are exactly what I'm looking for as a fantasy owner. Sell high on Andre Johnson. Take advantage of his best game of the season to flip him. The combination of age, Ryan Fitzpatrick, and nagging ankle problems all point to Johnson fading down the stretch. All aboard the DeAndre Hopkins train. Choo-choo! Buy low on Keenan Allen. He's been one of the biggest fantasy disappointments of the year so far, but Eddie Royal just hurt his ribs, and Malcolm Floyd and Antonio Gates don't exactly have a history of staying healthy. As Phillip Rivers' receiving options dwindle, he'll look to Allen more and more. Get him while he's cheap. Sell high on Brandon LaFell. Despite his talent and 2 20-point games in the last 3 weeks, the Patriots just don't have an established track record of reliable fantasy plays besides Rob Gronkowski and whichever gritty slot receiver the Boston fans identify with. Take advantage of someone who sees the upside here. Hire Antone Smith and fire Matt Asiata. Smith doesn't get touches, he just scores touchdowns. I don't think I'd have the balls to start him, but he's worth a stash in case Mike Smith comes to his senses and gives him more touches. In any case, he's better to have on your team than Asiata, who finally lost the starting job to Jerick McKinnon. Drop him, and drop him with gusto. Hire the Kansas City defense and fire Chicago's. KC's got a top 5 scoring defense and averages 3 sacks per game thanks to the dynamic pass rush duo of Justin Houston and Tamba Hali. Chicago's D is inferior by most metrics, and they're dealing with a rash of injuries to their linebacking core. The days of Mike Singletary and Brian Urlacher are gone, people. Chicago's a receiver town now. That is all for Week 7 of Keepers. Good luck, and may your running backs all stay healthy for once. Set your lineups. See you next week.